One of my colleagues told me, Don, Mother's Day is not a church holiday. So why do you talk about mothers on Mother's Day? And I said, because that's one of the reasons a lot of people come to church. I never know what quite to say on Mother's Day because for each one of you, your feelings and your memories and what you've gone through is different. I mean, for a lot of you, you're moms and you're here with your kids and your family. I know there are some of you in our church who desperately want to be a mom, and you're not there yet. Sometimes as a mom or as a dad, you wish you could have done better and you feel kind of inadequate. And for a lot of us, our relationship with our mom is not what we want it to be. And of course, for many of you, your mom's gone. And so today is a day of some memories and some tears. On the one hand, all of us, I don't care how old we are, we need a mom. And if it isn't our real mom, whatever that means, we need somebody in our life that shows us that unconditional gift of love that we don't earn, we often don't deserve, we never have to doubt because that gift of love is always there. And on the other hand, each one of us, even us guys, we got to be a mom. Because there are times maybe when your relationship with your own kids is not what you'd like it to be. And yet there's somebody out there that needs you to remind them that they are not in this thing called life alone. Everybody needs that reminder, and you just might be that person for somebody else. I don't know where your heart turns on a day like today, but I'm just reminded every day that God comes alive in the humanity of the people around us. Just look around this church today. When you go to a restaurant later, look at the people that serve you. When it's time for communion, look at all the people that come up here to share the bread and the wine. When you go to the health club or the grocery store, you look at the kids sitting up here on a Sunday morning. You look at all the ordinary moments of your day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Look at all the people around you. That's where God lives. Because if God doesn't come alive in the ordinary people and moments, then God really doesn't make much of a difference. I think one of the hardest things is when the person we love, and maybe it's your mom, when that person we look up to for strength, when they become different over time. I was looking back at some of my older Mother's Day sermons. When I was younger, I would almost idolize my mom. And I would preach these so-called glowing pictures of who my mom was. And then I realized when you do that, all you do is depress people who don't have a glowing memory of their mom or whose mom is gone. And so for several years, I quit talking about my mom. And then a lot of you come to say, hey, Don, how come you never tell stories about your mom and dad anymore? So I won't talk about my mom or my dad. I'm going to talk about my grandmother. I've been thinking a lot about my grandmother lately, and a lot of it was because of a funeral I went to yesterday. She lived in a little bungalow in Roseland. And to me, Roseland was the promised land. It was the land of boiling coffee and plastic on the furniture. Big Swedish women with aprons the size of Orland Park. And I used to think as a kid that grandmas were born at the age of 65. And they stayed 65 or 70 or 75 for the rest of their lives. And if you were a grandmother, you had to live in Chicago, preferably Roseland or Mount Greenwood. It was a good place to live. I remember watching my grandmother slow down. I remember when she started forgetting who she was and who I was. I remember when my mom died, which is her daughter. After my mom died, my grandmother would walk around the house looking for my mom because she thought she was hiding from her. And then when she finally went into a nursing home, I'd walk in there and she says, Donnie, where's my purse? And I said, Grandma, it's in your lap. And she looked at me with those innocent eyes and she laughed. And we always enjoyed those moments. And I realize that parents, moms, dads, grandparents, they come in all kinds of different packages. And each one of our journeys with our mom is different and unique. And today I'm reminded, I may be able to speak the languages of men and even of angels. But if I have not the gift of love, my speech is just a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. And so Marcy calls me up yesterday and says, well, Don, my mother-in-law, is in hospice care, and she has Alzheimer's. She just turned 102. So there's no need to go see her because she will not know who you are. And I said, that's precisely why I will go see her, because I know who she is. Whether she knows who I am doesn't make any difference. And I had just come from a funeral for a gentleman who had Alzheimer's for 10 years. And the grandson came to me just before the service and said, would it be okay if I speak? And I said, of course it would be. And he read me what is called the Alzheimer's prayer. And if you don't mind, I'd like to share it with you. This is it. Please grant my visitors tolerance for my confusion, forgiveness for my irrationality, and the strength to walk with me in the midst of the memory that my world has become. Please let them take my hand and stay a while, even though I may seem unaware of their presence. Help them know how their strength and loving care will drift slowly into the days to come, just when I need it the most. Let them know when I do not recognize them that I will one day. Keep their hearts free from sorrow for me, for my sorrow, when it comes, only lasts a moment, and then it's gone, and I don't remember. And finally, please let them know how very much their visits mean to me, how even through this relentless mystery, I can always and will always feel their love. When the grandson read that, you could just hear a pin drop. I was thinking Mike and Ruth from Heartland are going to be here at the second service. I remember our first trip to Heartland 20 years ago. 20 years ago was the first time we went. There was a young boy in a crib who had been shaken, and his name was Brad. He did not move. He never would, but he was a beefer, and he filled up your lap. And you would hold him in your lap, and all he did was look at you. He never spoke a word. And yet that young man 20 years ago absolutely changed my life. And so I think of those words, the only ones I know from the Bible. For everything there is a season. Love is patient, and love is kind. The Lord is my shepherd. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, and my cup runneth over. And I realize the sun rose again today. And each one of our journeys, wherever it takes you and wherever it takes me, as long as it is laced with love, it is always, always worth it. Amen. Our creed is on page 105. Please rise if you can.